Alright, this is our day 1.7 video for geometry, and I told you in class that we would be using our own notebook paper for this. It's not going to be a real long video. I'm going to try and keep it short because we're going to do some more work in class to understand some of this. But for now, you need to make sure that you title your notes page like this, day 1.7, and the title of the lesson is Parallel Lines and Angle Relationships. Okay, so make sure it has that. And then you need to draw this diagram. We want to draw two parallel lines, M and N. Remember, parallel lines mean they never intersect, and we mark that they are parallel with these kind of markings, like that. And then we want to draw an intersecting line, like this green line that I have, and label it T. The reason I use T in this case is because this kind of line that crosses two other lines at two different points is called a transversal. Okay, so T for transversal. They won't always be called T, but that's what I chose here. And then you need to number these angles like I have them numbered. Angle 1, angle 2, angle 3, angle 4, angle 5, angle 6, angle 7, angle 8. It's just going to make it easier for us to refer to these angles here in just a little bit. And you will probably need to pause this video to make sure you can get this copy down correctly before continuing. But once you do have that copy down, we are going to take a look at some terms regarding the different angles created and angle relationships when we have two parallel lines intersected by a transversal. So you should have, I'm going to give you some definitions here. Okay, we've got some key terms here, and we're going to talk about these more in class, but these are your key vocab terms for this lesson. When we have these kind of lines, we get these 8 angles created, and we have certain angles that are considered corresponding angles. Okay, corresponding angles are two angles in the same relative position. And what that means is they are along the transversal. One uses this line and one uses this. So an example of corresponding angles would be angle 1 and angle 5, because they are both above their respective lines and they're both to the left of the transversal. So angle 1 and angle 5 would be one example of corresponding angles. Alternate interior angles, we're just going to focus on these key terms. Alternate means the opposite sides of the transversal, so the left and the right here. And interior means between these two parallel lines. Okay, that's what interior means. So our examples of alternate interior angles would be like angles 4 and 6. Okay? I'm going to zoom out a little bit so we can keep an eye on our diagram. Alternate exterior angles, same idea, but now they're on the exterior. They're outside of the two parallel lines. Okay, so they're still on opposite sides of the transversal, but they are outside the two lines. That would be an example like angle 2 and angle 8. Okay? Then same side interior angles, again, are on the same side of the transversal, and they're back to being interior angles. Now, 3 and 4 would not be considered same side interior angles, but 3 and 6 would be. They have to be using both the parallel lines. So our example might be 3 and 6. Okay? Now, these last two are a little bit different. Vertical angles and a linear pair only relate to angles formed by two of the lines. I'm not going to use both parallel lines to make these angles. Okay, we're just looking at one intersection point. Okay, so I'm not even going to show you the top ones, even though they would exist up there. We're going to talk about what these are. Vertical angles are angles formed by two lines only, and they only share a vertex. They don't share a common side. So if I've got my intersecting two lines here, angle 5 and angle 7 only share the common vertex. They don't share a side like 5 and 6 do, or 7 and 8 do. So vertical angles would be like angles 5 and 7. Okay? And then the last last concept here is that of a linear pair. A linear pair of angles are formed by two lines again, but they do share a vertex and one common side. So angles 5 and 6 would be a linear pair. You'll notice that a linear pair always make a straight line. Angles 5 and 6 have a total, if I were to add their measures, of 180 degrees. So a linear pair is always forming a straight line. Okay, so that's your example for those. So that's all the different kind of angle pairs we have by parallel lines or intersecting lines. But there are a couple other angle relationships we want to talk about that refer to angle measures. And so I want to talk about those now. Okay, and that is using these angles here. I'm going to label these angles 1, 2, and 3. Okay, and if I look at the measures I've given you, I just picked these not completely at random because there's a relationship of these measures I want you to look at. Okay, but first I want you to look at angle 1 and angle 2. If I look at their measures, I would say the measure of angle 1 plus the measure of angle 2 equals what? If I add 20 to 70 degrees, I should get 90 degrees. That means that there's that special relationship. We call any angles whose measures add up to 90 degrees complementary. Okay, complementary. That means measures add up to 90 degrees. That's what complementary means. Okay? Then I want us to look at angles 2 and 3. Angles 2 and 3, if I look at their measures, 70 and 110, measure of angle 2 plus the measure of angle 3, in this case, 70 plus 110 adds up to 180 degrees. And we call those kind of angles supplementary. Okay? Supplementary angles have measures, MEAS period is my abbreviation for measure, by the way, that add up to 180 degrees. So that's the difference in complementary and supplementary. And we're going to look at this a lot more in class. There's not a whole lot more we have to look at with the video. But you need to take these notes. So if you need to go back and rewatch anything or copy any of this down at any point, please make sure you go back and do that. Maybe I kind of went right into this too fast and you need to pause the video to copy it down. That's okay. But please make sure you got both of these notes. You might be able to fit them on the front of one page or the front and back of a page. I just chose to write 2 different pages.